Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present to you Chronically Stupid Staying Insane Podcast, episode number 21. We talk about
20.
Shit, 20. Leave it. We talk about what our fears are and kind of get on a deep personal level. Unfortunately, it ran a little longer than I was expecting, so I will give you spoilers. Part 2, episode 21, will be next on Thursday this week. And stick around for the second half of this discussion. Thank you. But gentlemen, welcome to episode 20, my dudes.
It has been
a journey.
Yeah. If anyone's still here through 20 episodes, welcome. Thank you. We're a fifth of the way to 100.
Yeah, we're getting there. So,
maybe we'll
gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
I broke my mic.
Nice.
Oh, Adam.
Keep talking. I'll listen.
I don't know. I'm okay. Jesus Christ.
Just another Friday for you?
It's another very boring, very weird Friday.
Okay. Fair enough.
Days just bleed together at this point. I'm still out of work. I'm trying to find jobs, and it's just a fucking nightmare.
To be honest, I'm at work, still fucking bleed together. I write down the day probably 3 times a day, and I'm like, what fucking day is it? So.
Yeah, we can't hear Adam. Fucking Christ. Great, love it. Love everything. Oh, he's gone. Maybe he's back. Hey,
can
how you
hear you?
doing? We can hear you. And we can see you. Yay, you're back. All right, that'll stay in.
Yeah,
Who gives
we're
a
good.
shit?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, you all listen.
So how was your Friday, my dude?
Busy.
Busy?
Yeah, because everybody likes beer, and I sell
Point? Yeah. So.
That's hot.
It's also the weekend before next weekend's Father's Day, so I wouldn't be surprised if people are having cookouts and shit this weekend instead
Fair
of
enough.
next weekend. You know, usually the week before and after a a decently large holiday, are pretty.
Beginning of
busy.
summer. Is
It's
time.
it's also the beginning of summer. It's the
Beer.
first week that it's been nice all week. For the
Yeah,
most
there's
part,
Memorial Day, Father's Day, and then the camps open up, and then 4th of July, and it's just all drinking holidays.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's been made to be drinking holidays.
Yeah.
Yes, it has.
You know.
But so I have a quick story about work that I think you guys will think is funny before we get into the topics. So I started getting so I work for a water company. Let me preface this first. I work for a water company, and they have a communication system between my pump station and my tank that tells my pump station how much water is in the tank, whether it needs to turn on or off. So that went down. The comm system went down about 8:30 Wednesday night. And I get a phone call every hour. It's out.
Oh my God.
And the thing is there's been times I've gone down, shut it off, turned it back on, it's working, drive home, get to the top of the hill by my house, I get another comms alarm. So it was one of those things like, you know what, I'll just push through it, I'll deal with it in the morning. So Wednesday night, I got woken up every single hour. I only missed 2 of them, which is pretty good for me. It means I woke up and answered every single one of them. But, so...
You have to answer them?
Yeah, I have to answer them.
Ew.
I have to acknowledge there's a comms alarm every hour.
Oh my God.
But so it continues through Wednesday. Through Thursday. I reset it Thursday morning. I get from where my pump station's at to Jeremy, your town, just about, and I get a comms alarm again. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I got shit to do. I will deal with it in a bit. So it continues throughout the day. About 2:30 comes around. My boss is like, you know, we had that windstorm. Go up and check the tank, see if something got knocked off at the tank. So I go up to the tank, and I have a vault in there that has all my brains and stuff in it. I go down in there to check it. I open up the panel. No, not actual brains, Adam. Calm down.
I was like, what?
computer
What
parts.
a company is this?
It's a murder house.
Oh yes.
But I checked it out, and I go in there. I open up the panel. No lights are on at all. I'm like, oh shit! And then I look up. The lights in the vault aren't working either. I'm like, double fuck. I go to the little building where the electrical panel's at. No lights in there. I check the electrical panel.
Fuck.
Every single one of them is good. I go around the outside to check the meter, see how power to the meter, and because it's industrial, it has an emergency shut-off switch. It was flipped. But the point of this story is coming very quickly. So I didn't flip it back. I first tried to see what caused it. Turns out there's so you know in the side of a breaker box, there's those holes you can pop out to put grommets in to feed the wires into it.
Right, yeah.
One of those was popped out, obviously from a while ago. What do I find in there but a mouse with his head in the box, his body outside the box, like this. This is his head, this is his body. No. The whole back of his neck is burnt. So somehow he tripped a surge inside the box and killed himself and shut off my power.
What?
What the heck?
And he had been living in there for a while because we opened up the box while the power is off because we wanted to make sure nothing else got fucked. And he had a pretty big nest in there. So I'm thinking there's like been generations of mice in that thing. So
Did that, the knockout hole, did it not have a cap on it?
no, it was just an open hole.
Who the fuck did that?
Don't know.
Did you cover it?
Yeah, did you cap
Not
it?
Not yet. We are
Come
looking
on,
for
man.
things to cap it. I do have grommets here at the house. Because when I redid my house, I put new electrical and all that bullshit in. So I think I'm gonna take some up next week. But I cleared the nest out, so if anything wants to get back in there, it's gonna have to build a new nest. But I now know what to look for first whenever I have a comms alarm for 17 hours.
Household.
A dead
So.
mouse in your breaker box.
Well, I want to turn this into an anecdote for you. No matter how small you are, the actions you do can affect a wide range of people and really put a number on the world.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that's my little
Jesus
story
Christ.
from work. So
That's actually ridiculous.
yeah. So, anyways, let's get into the topics. I don't know about you guys, but I've been thinking about this a lot today, and I know two of mine are going to be very heavy. I wouldn't say dark, but heavy.
Ooh, I'm heavy.
I want to know, what are your guys' fears? What are you truly scared of?
So, phobias or like emotional fears?
Do you want me to go
Yes.
first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, I wrote these down on a notepad because I wanted to make sure I got this correct. Shit, my notepad isn't working now.
Oh, rough.
Fucking wonderful. Un momento es por favor. Technical difficulty. There we go.
Wanted to make sure I didn't forget it. The notepad's fucked.
So, a lot of girls, especially our age, say that men are afraid of commitment. And it's not so much the fact that I'm afraid of commitment. I'm afraid of not being enough for somebody else. And for some reason, spending, I don't know, maybe about approximately 7 years of your life with a person, and then them just up and leaving. Don't you guys fucking laugh.
Right.
So, I'm more afraid of that, and this kind of bleeds over into like all parts of my life. I'm always afraid I'm not gonna be enough at work. This podcast has had me worried a lot. Episode 4, which you guys loved, I was super worried about that. I mean, I was like dreading the day it came out, and then we got the feedback for it, and I was like, oh shit, people actually like this. Okay. It's one of those things is like, I'm always afraid I won't be enough for the other person or for what I'm putting myself into. Because when I do stuff, I typically don't do stuff half-assed. I put my whole heart into it. So to put your whole heart into something and then something happened and say you weren't enough, then what more do you want from me? So, but
Okay.
that's one of my fears. If you have any rebuttals, that would be the time.
I have a question. So are you afraid of like the negativity that could be associated with that? Like I don't know, rejection, I guess, like not being enough, but then not getting like a reason why. Are you afraid of like the inability for someone to like give you ways to improve? Is that
I guess in a way, yes, but it's more of building a home for that person in my heart, and then them leaving an empty void. I'm not afraid of being alone. I've been single for a while now. I'm afraid of not being enough for that person, and for some reason not being what they wanted, or being someone different than they thought I was. So I guess that's probably more of it. I'm not afraid of rejection. As a fat guy, I get rejected all the time. It's fine. Some people don't like fat guys. I understand that. I'm also kind of an asshole. So I'm not afraid of rejection, not in the least. Actually, rejection is one of the better things for you because it gives you a place to go. But I think you're right in a way that they'll leave without giving me a reason why.
Okay.
And that's something that happened with me and Mary. Remember, that's the name we're calling her now.
Oh. Mary.
She just kind of left and just really didn't give me a reason. So, but I don't know.
One. I don't know. I kind of feel you there, man. Like the like loss without the not justification, but like explanation. Like, and you know, I kind of had that lately too. To an extent. It's a whole can of worms I won't open.
Okay.
And I definitely feel that. Like you're left without directive, and you're left without you know, things to improve. You're just left with like questions. You're not left with a not a question of like, okay, well, how do I become this better person? Like, how do I work towards this thing? You're left with well, where the fuck do I go?
Exactly. And that's what I fear the most.
Okay. I can definitely understand that. Just as like a kind of a analog to that, when I was applying for a lot of jobs after college, I got a few interviews. And one of them, they just called me back and they're like, "Hey, you're not right for this position. Thanks a lot for applying. Bye." And it was like literally a 1.5-minute call. And I was like, well, what did I do wrong? And I couldn't get a hold of them again. Like, I asked, and they just like said, "Oh no, you're just not right for this position." And I was like, "All right, well, thanks. See ya, I guess."
Okay.
Yeah. So like that left me a little discouraged too. So I can definitely, not just in a relationship standpoint, but just in a standpoint in life in general, understand and really see how that could be
and my fear of this doesn't translate just to relationships. Like I said, I was super worried about episode 4 because it was the first time we had dipped into a heavier topic, and I was worried people weren't gonna want to watch that because I assumed people started watching us to get away from the heaviness that the world is right now, or at least was back then. So
and it seemed like a lot of people liked it because we did. You know, we're people too. We're humans. We go through shit. You know.
Yeah.
We're not just faces on the computer. You know.
Right. I still think it's a distraction. I mean, I get what you guys are saying. Like, they want to look at it as this like happy thing to kind of get away from the rough stuff. But sometimes talking about the rough stuff is getting away from the rough stuff. Like, I know I've listened to a lot of like I've listened to a lot of podcasts where people have opened up about like Rhett and Link, for example, just did a podcast on the death of their third member. Like, it was like they're both their best friends who inspired like everything they do now.
Okay.
He died from cancer when they were younger, like after college or something, but still younger. and it was like while this Corona stuff was taking off, I listened to it. It was like so comforting in a way. Like it was sad, and they were both very vulnerable, but it was like it's nice to also be, not the only one who's dealt with like a loss like that. Like I lost a close friend very young too. Yeah, it's just comforting in a way. It still was a distraction. It wasn't like I was having a tough time listening to it. It was just yeah. So like I don't think we ever should have to worry about what we want to talk about. Like people who will want to listen will listen, and the people who might not be as interested in that, it's another episode coming out that week anyway. So
the thing is, and we're going to talk about that part of the fears later. But I tell myself that constantly, but for some reason it still creeps in.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm not saying like
you're never going to get over all those sort of things. No. Like you're never going to be 100% sure of yourself all the time. That's just you're mentally ill if that's how you are. Like you should be confident in your
arrogant asshole.
Right. Like you should be confident in yourself, and like I am who I am, and if someone doesn't like it, then that's too bad. But you should also be like, well, maybe I shouldn't say this thing, or maybe I should do this a little differently, like than I normally would, depending on a situation. Sometimes having restraint and forethought is probably the best.
Okay.
What's your second thing there, Eddie?
All right, this one has been one that has plagued me since I can ever remember. I mean, I can remember being 11 and being actually crying because of this one. And a lot of people have this fear, but I don't think it's the same way. A lot of people are afraid of dying. I'm not necessarily afraid of dying. I'm afraid of dying and not knowing what's going to be on the other side.
I think that's a very reasonable fear.
And I know a lot of people have it. It's one of those things, like I said, I remember physically sitting beside the couch and crying and having to explain to my mother why I was crying. And it was just me in my own head. And I fight with this a lot because this is the only time I'm going to bring this up. But I am a Christian. I was raised Christian. So the Christianity side of me says there's a heaven and a hell. Whether you do well or not, it depends on where you go. But the scientific side of me says it's a black abyss. There's nothing there. So that's where my eternal struggle comes, and that's why this is such a big fear. Like honestly, I've lived a good life. I probably could have lived a better life. I wanted to do more with my life, but if something happens and it's my time to go, I'm good. I'm Gucci. So, but like, because Austin and I were talking about this the other day, and he was bringing up scenarios of like if you're getting robbed, like at gunpoint or at knife point, and he's talking about like, oh, I don't want to get stabbed, and I'm like, why not? I mean, it's gonna hurt for a little bit, yeah, but and he's like, well, what if you die? I was like, what if I die? It's one of those things. It's gonna be an inevitability. Why not just learn to embrace it? That way you're ready for when it comes. I'm not saying like worship death, but be ready for the unpredictability of life itself.
I feel that.
Yeah. Don't take life too seriously because none of us make it out alive.
So that's my second existential crisis I always have. If you guys any more rebuttals to that, feel free.
Yeah. So I'll give you a rebuttal from my side because I'm very, very scientific, and
yes,
and I had a phase where I went to church all the time, and as a young adult, 18, 19, 20 years old, I had a phase too where I went to church all the time, and I kind of believed. I was always still skeptical, but I had an instant when I was younger, on my 19th birthday, actually, I almost died. Like, for real, almost. I probably should be dead right now. I hit a semi-truck, probably going about 50 miles an hour, head on. And totaled the truck I was in, and I wasn't like really banged up. I was lucky because I was like half asleep when it happened, so I probably ragdolled a lot more than had I been awake and hit it. My birthday's towards the holidays around December. It's late November. So I was coming home from work. I worked at the mall in the town where we usually go out to.
Yes.
I worked there, and I worked a midnight shift on Black Friday.
Yes.
And Black Friday that year was my birthday, and I was coming home the next morning at 6:30, 7 in the morning.
I remember it was very
early. It was barely light out, and I was coming around a turn. It was a really bad turn. It's just a bad turn in general. It's like
actually in front of Adam's dad's garage.
Yeah, actually, right in front of there. I was coming around this turn, and this semi-truck, and I don't know for sure. Someone who was behind me said he was in my lane, kind of, sort of, but I was also half asleep, so it was probably we both kind of veered. We veered towards each other either way. And it was snowing out that morning, and it was a whole mess.
Yes, it was.
But my brother was with me too. Yeah, I have images of the truck. If anybody really wants to see that, please get a hold of me personally. I'll share it through that way. I won't put it out on social media. Yeah, I won't do that. Just for my sake.
Trust us.
It's bad. It's really bad.
You look at it and you're like, oh, they're dead.
The whole front axle was gone. I'll put it to you that way. And it was like a 2500 size truck. The whole front axle was gone. So I should have been dead then. Like, for real, should have been dead. And there was no reason that I came out of that. I don't know. I had like some back issues for a couple months after that, but nothing major. Like, I didn't have to have surgery, or I didn't have any broken anything. I had some cuts on my face from glass hitting me and the airbag, and I probably had a concussion. I didn't get checked for a concussion, but I probably had one.
We had so many through football, it doesn't really fucking matter at this point. So.
Yeah.
The spirit!
But, so my take on life and death is a little different. Both being now a scientist, and I like to think of myself as a scientist. Whether or not that's true is... I have a scientific outlook on life. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, there you go.
So, between that and then, like, the sheer just dumb luck of me living through that...
And your brother.
Yeah, my brother was in the passenger seat, but he was dead out, like, full-on passed out. Like, he just flopped around. It was fine. God. Give me a second here.
Oh, yeah.
Time, buddy.
So, I think my outlook on life and death is very much kind of what you said, Eddie, that, like, it'll fucking happen when it happens.
And there's nothing you can do to stop it.
Right.
Absolutely not a damn thing.
And then, whereas, like, you come to the point of, like, what's on the other side, like, no one really knows.
Yeah.
And you won't know until you die and you figure out.
Yeah.
Like... And, like, I'm always skeptical of, like, the people who say, like, they died, like, maybe had a heart attack and then they got resuscitated, or whatever, and they're like, oh, I saw God, or I saw a light, or I saw nothing. Like, I'm always skeptical about all those different things because, you know, you're dying. Your brain can't process that information, really.
Or sometimes the brain makes up its own image.
Right, to help you settle yourself through to... whatever's next. So, like, I don't know. I really don't know, and I don't think any of us ever will. We'll never be able to figure out.
So we're dead.
Yeah, until you're dead, and then, well, you're dead. Like,
of course you know after that, but...
Yeah. So, I don't know. My thoughts on it are very up in the air. Like, a lot of things that I maybe don't really have opinions on, but, like...
Okay.
Like we talked about with the monsters and myths and stuff like that. It's like, it's all up in the air. Like, I don't know. I don't have any information to go on. I don't.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Okay.
Live your life while you can, and try not to think about that too much, because...
And it is a hard thing to do.
Right,
I understand that.
It is. But you'll put yourself in a position where you're just... I don't know. you're destroying yourself over nothing. You're alive right now. You're probably doing all right. If you're not, maybe, go talk to somebody. Like, you're alive, and if nothing else, that's the best thing that can happen to you.
Yep.
Do you have anything to go with that, Adam, at all?
Yeah, any rebuttals from you, sir?
Man, I agree with everything you said there. Like, I feel like you just put that there, then I could have put it. So, like, as boring as that is for a podcast, like, that's just true. Yeah, like, you really don't know. And I guess, okay, I can put my own spin on it. I guess, like, I never realized how, as shitty as it sounds for me to say now, I never realized how good of a friend Jake was until after he had died. So, I see it a lot more in my friends now. I like, really, I guess, probably because of that, got a better chance to, like, really look at it. But, I those of you who might not know, I had a friend named Jacob. I'll just say his first name. We were very close through all of elementary school and high school, and he was always someone that we could talk for hours about, like, emotions and about, like, like, not manly stuff, but we just got each other. We both were, had similar traumas of the past, and both had a lot of the same internal stuff and went on. Yeah. So I don't know. We just always connected and were able to talk like that. And, I always appreciated him and knew and considered him one of my closest friends. But it's like, after he died, I just, like, miss him all the time. I didn't see him a ton when he was alive. Like, we would hang out a couple times a month. It wasn't like he lived super close. It wasn't like we were talking every day. I don't know what that kind of loss is like, and I'm scared to find out someday. But, just even week to week, like, even now, still, like, I just am like, dang, I wish we could just hang out more. Yeah, not even like I miss him as in, like, he's not alive anymore, like, because that's just the obvious you miss that way. But still, like, miss having those talks with someone who got me on such a deep level. Yeah. And it also makes you just, like, regret a lot of stuff. There were so many times where, like, I let anxiety keep me from doing stuff. Back when Jake and I were still, he ended up cyberschooling through high school, so, like, halfway through. So, but always, like, he didn't get to see many people, so he would, like, always ask to hang out, and I would always be free. Not always, sometimes wouldn't be, but I would be free a lot more than I would let him know. And later on in life, when stuff like that happens, you feel like an asshole for saying, just because you're feeling a little anxious someday. But I agree
your
with
own,
you guys.
That's your own.
Your fullest and right. I know. I don't blame myself for it or anything.
No, you shouldn't have regrets over maybe not hanging out with him because you didn't know. Like,
right. Oh, no, you never could.
Right.
Literally, I told this to my dad, like, we were driving home from I was like, I could have picked, like, 100 people in my life that I would have thought would have died before Jake.
Yeah.
It's just, like, you'll never know. Like, you think, like, if you're like, oh, which friend of mine would probably die first? Like, oh, the stupid one, or the one on hardcore drugs, I don't know. Like, it's just, death isn't like that. It's not like, oh, I saw that coming.
And as a quick aside, too, I honestly think that people you don't talk to every day, you have a better friendship and understanding with than people you do talk to every day. Because I see that fat ass every single day, and he doesn't even talk to me. So. Sorry, for those audience, sure. I'm pointing to my brother's room. That's my brother's room.
I thought you were pointing at me. Oh, sorry.
No, he's below you in the recording.
Right.
I agree with that 100%. Like, my dad, he was in the Navy, and he still talks to a couple of the guys that he, like, pretty regularly that he was in the Navy with. and I think he's better friends with those guys than he is with like any of the people that he's friends with that kind of live around us.
Yeah.
Like a much heartier, like wholehearted friendship. Like friends till the end, they'll do anything for each other no matter what. Even though they talk, they'll text back and forth like once a month, twice a month maybe. And, they see each other 2 times a year. So,
Yeah, no, definitely.
So, if that's all you guys have for that one, I have my last and final fear.
Oh, sure, yeah.
This one is, some would call me silly for. But, and this is my real life fear of like something that I could actually happen and have figure out, is zombies. I am terrified to death of a zombie apocalypse. I don't know why.
We got close.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Now I'm thinking about it. I think I know why. So, there was an old VSH VHS. Sorry, dyslexia. Tape that my grandfather was actually in. It was called Night of the Living Dead. Yeah, he was actually in it. And
what? Wait.
Yeah, he was one of the background guys, but still, he was in it.
I don't care. That's dope.
But so I went and watched it, and I watched it at my hometown fire hall, with a bunch of other I think the age limit was 10, because I think that's the reason I went alone. Like 10 to 20-year-olds, and I went alone. And I mean, I was surrounded by other people, but I was sitting by myself, and I don't know why I got so fucking freaked out. I spilt my nachos. I was that scared. And as a fat guy, you never spill your food unless you're truly fucking scared.
You gotta fuck up.
And the thing, it's not the thing of like, I'm gonna freeze when I see a zombie, because I've run this scenario many times. I will, and I've actually made deals with William before. If the zombie apocalypse happens and either of us get infected, number one priority for the other one is to chop off the head of the other one with a katana. So, and I
know whose house I'm not going to when this happens.
As long as you're not infected, you can stay. It's all right. But the second you are, you're gone. But this is something I brought up to Mary, and she was like, what would you do if I got bit? And I was like, I would ice you in a second, no hesitations. She was like, oh, you wouldn't keep me as a little pet? I'm like, hell no!
As a little pet? Mary doesn't understand the apocalypse.
But yeah, that is my actual real life fear, is the thought of zombies and zombies apocalypse. And I won't freeze. I know that. I will fight until I am done, but I will be shitting my pants the entire time.
It's probably not, I'm sure it's possible, just not maybe to the movie lengths that some of the shows go.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of those are fabricated and, what's the word I'm looking for? Very fantasized, almost. So, I couldn't think of the word, so...
Yeah, no, but there's, outbreaks are for sure possible, as we've learned literally this year.
Yeah.
But there's lots of doomsday preppers. That's not that.
And that's the thing, is I'm not quite to that point where I'm a doomsday prepper, but I do have my shotgun loaded at all time for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is zombie defense. Reason number 2 is home defense.
An axe, like not a normal axe, like a killing axe.
Oh, I will be buying more weapons. Don't you worry your sweet little adopted head about that.
I'm screwed. If there's an apocalypse, I have that hockey stick, that lightsaber. There, like, that's it.
You are on the top floor, though.
You're 21 now. You can go get a permit.
Yeah?
Oh, no, yeah.
You can get a carry permit if you really want to.
I don't.
Or just buy
a pistol.
Not that I don't believe in it. Not that I think. I just, especially with what's going on in the world now, I just don't even want to. If someone's going to point a gun at me, I don't want to start a gun war. I just want to die. I don't want to die, obviously, but like.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, don't take that as I'm fine. I'm not depressed. I want to die. Oh my god, he needs help. Yeah,
Go ahead.
I would, and my biggest fear is like messing up. Like,
Okay.
I've had nightmares about it where like, if I were to ever own a weapon like that, something weird would happen. I can't think of like a specific scenario, but like, and I would like accidentally shoot my own dad or something. Like, like that's just like my worst fear.
Okay.
Like if it's like dark and we're getting robbed, and then someone like runs past the door at the wrong time, I would be like Mr. like wussy shaky hand and I'd just shoot anything. So like my cat could walk by, my dad, my sister, like, you know, I don't trust myself enough to carry a weapon the same way I don't. Like, part of me would love to be in the military, but I just know I couldn't.
Okay.
I know that's not a great mindset to have. Like, even just from stories I hear from people, my friends who are in it, like,
Okay.
I cried watching like SpongeBob's Greatest Moments the other day. Can't tell me you see a guy like that in the fucking military. I was like, dude, this is my childhood. Anyway, sorry.
It's all
Yeah,
good.
that's why anyway.
Jeremy, do you have any rebuttals to the zombie?
I mean, it's not to the super fanatical way that movies and TV shows put it, but there, you know, we could have a worldwide, you know, deadly disease break out like we did this year, you know, like exactly that way, and maybe it, you know, came with other side effects like hysteria,
Cannibalism.
something. Yeah, there's little kitties, huh? Crazy little kid. But I think that yes, it's a possibility, a very, very, very small one, but I can understand especially now, like the way that things can go from 0 to 100 real quick, and you can be caught with your pants down.
Oh yeah.
Like I completely understand that, and I think that's kind of your fear. Maybe not just exactly zombies.
It's zombies.
It's
like,
zombies.
I can work with most things. Like I don't need to like prepare. Like when this whole thing broke out, I didn't run to grab toilet paper because I knew there was other ways I could like take care of myself in that regard. It is absolutely the thought of getting swarmed by a herd of undead flesh-eating motherfuckers and me having only 9 bullets in my pistol and there's like 60 of them. That is my fear. All right.
I think you're okay.
That's fair. That's fair.
Might be all right.
Oh,
So,
man.
those were my fears, whether rational or irrational. That was up to you to decide. Jeremy, would you like to depart on yours?
Yeah.
And you're unmuted, correct?
Yes, I'm unmuted.
Okay,
We're
just
good.
double checking.
We're good. We're all good. So I don't know. I have this fear, and it's kind of a new one. So recently I went through a really hard breakup. With a woman I really thought I was gonna marry. Like I was ready. Kind of blindsided me. What happened. So, and I've tried talking to other people, and I don't know. A thing that really comes up often, and I don't know if it's just being young, or the other women being young, or what it is. Like, I find that a big reason for rejection is being a single father. And hear me out on this. Like, it seems that people around our age, around 25, who are, you know, in the mindset to maybe settle down, to maybe, you know, have kids at some point, they really don't want to pick up somebody else's broken mess. And not saying that my life with Allison is bad or anything like that. they just really, they want to be able to start fresh with somebody else and have their own family and have their own kids and not, not be picking up where somebody else left off, and the woman I was with was like, was a very, very good mother figure to my daughter.
Yes.
So, and this is all, I'm trying to be respectful, and it's hard for me to really even just talk about this.
I understand, buddy. If you don't want to talk, you don't have to.
No, it's all right. I'm good. So I feel like I'm kind of afraid of the inevitability of being alone for forever. And not because of who I am, not because of anything other than the rejection that seems to be very prominent and people it just, in general, that like they don't want to be mom to a kid that's not theirs. And that's not putting down, the woman I was with. She was great to my kid. She always, even if she and I were fighting, she was still great to her. And I thank her for all the time we had together. But it just seems like inevitably I'll end up being, 35, 40 years old, and, she's 15, 20 years old, and then I might get a chance to find somebody. But at that point, everyone else has, they either have their own family or they're, they don't want a family. And I always wanted a family. I always did. But now, it just seems to be that I'll end up not having a family because I grew up with 4 younger siblings.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big fucking family. And my dad was the oldest of 7. Like, so I have this huge span of brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and all my cousins. Like, it's humongous, the family. And like, I always wanted that for my kids, Oh, look, you got, 4 aunts and uncles just from me, not even, the other
persons.
Plus whoever they would end up, being with, and, all that other stuff. Like, I don't know. And maybe it's also a fear of, like, not being able to maybe give my daughter the same sort of
normal American
kind
of upbringing. I understand that.
And it's, she still has problems. She still asks about, her, and, she doesn't see her mother quite as often as maybe would be better for her, but...
Well, a lot of that was also due to the whole COVID thing.
Right, but...
her mother is a nurse, we can say that, so...
Yeah, but even still, it was, like, a lot of... before all this nonsense went down.
I know what you're talking about. You don't have to bring it up if you don't want to.
I think most people kind of know what you're saying.
Yeah. So I just feel like, I don't know, it's on me to give my daughter a proper mother figure, and I feel like if I can't provide that, then I've failed as a father. So it's, because, like, I don't know anything about, doing hair. I don't know how to do makeup. Like, I don't know any of those sorts of things. Like, what am I gonna do when, she's 15 and going through puberty? Like, I wasn't there. I wasn't a girl and did it at 15 or 13 or, whatever. Like, I don't know what to do. And yes, I have help from, my sisters and my mom and all these other women, and her mom will be around still. But it's like, what do I do? And, like, I can't do everything is a thing, and I've always tried to do everything.
Yes.
So it is I don't know. It's not upsetting, but like, I don't know. It's disheartening. That's the word I want. It's disheartening that like I can't do everything for her, and I know I should be able to, but I just there's some things I can't. So all this boils down to, I guess, like a big fear being that like I won't be able to provide how I should, and I feel like that comes down to like being a single dad at 24 years old, and the societal thing of like no one wants to be with a single dad. No one wants to do that. No one wants to,
Okay, I have
raise some more kids.
Yeah, I got
for you.
Okay.
Adam, I am going to jump ahead of you. I apologize.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you insight from someone who's been in this situation. I don't think I've ever told you guys. I've only talked to my parents about it, but I've very seriously almost ended up with a girl who already had a child from a previous relationship.
Right.
And my biggest drawback was I don't know what the situation is between her ex and the baby daddy. And that is honestly, and every time I see a girl that has like in her Tinder bio is like mother of two, something like that, I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to step into that situation, because I'm sure, as both my stepmother and stepfather will attest to, stepping into a situation like that is not good. And I've talked to my stepmother about this before. I welcomed her with open arms because it was what made my dad happy. And I'm sure Ducky feels the same way. As long as dad's happy, she'll be happy. Now, on the opposite hand, my stepmom and my brother did not get along very well because William has always been a mama's boy. He'll attest to that to this day. So I think for a while was worried that she was trying to replace mom. And I think that's where the situation gets hairy. It all depends on what the situation is. So, and that's my biggest drawback. I don't know where I could go, because I feel like with all of my training with my 11 nieces and nephews, I would be an okay dad. So, second thing, my dad, when my sister started going through all this stuff, my mom and dad were still together, and he still had no fucking clue what to do. So, don't worry about that, Jeremy. The thing is, even if you prepare for it, just like when you have a child, you're still not going to know what the fuck to do. It's always going to be a fucking mystery. So,
yeah, for sure.
And third thing, I'm telling you what, if we're not married by 30, I'm proposing, you motherfucker.
God. Now the gay speculations begin.
Oh boy.
If I haven't speculated by now, I don't know what more I could do.
That's true. Yeah.
So, those are my three points for you. And I don't want to get too sappy, but I've told you what I think you are as a dad, and I'm not gonna say it out loud. I don't want you to get up emotional or whatever.
Yeah.
But navigating your way through the dating world is hard alone, but with a child, it makes it exponentially harder. And the thing is once you find that person, it'll be the best thing of your life. So
yeah, it's just
keep your chin up, that beautiful bearded chin of yours, and just keep on pushing through, buddy.
What chin?
But it's hard, and it's really, I don't know. It makes it even more disheartening when I've talked to people and they're like, look, I don't want to. You're great, but like you have a kid, and I'm not about that. Like that's like, well, fuck. You really do. You just don't like me because I have a kid. It's not that you like me, but I have a kid. It's you don't like me because I have a kid. I don't know. It just seems to be a very. I don't know.
The other thing I think that's affecting you right now, and this is a little bit of psychology, Eddie, here, is you still are on what I call a bender of the breakup. I mean, it's only been like 2 months or something like that.
Closer to 4.
It's been a little longer than that. Yeah.
I mean,
it's been a long time.
The thing is, when a guy gets hurt, it can take years for stuff to fully heal. I mean, fuck, I've been separated from Mary for 4 years now, and every once in a while I'm just like, damn, that shit hurt.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I think that's another reason. I truly do believe that one day you will find somebody. I have all the faith in my heart. Not only that, I do believe you will be able to. If not, you'll rise to the occasion, like you had to do whenever she was born.
Yeah.
Because that's the type of dude you are, and my future husband.
How'd that feel saying that?
It felt like acid. All right. All right. Anyways, Adam, my rebuttals are done. If you have anything, sir.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to try to make anybody emotional either, but you know, shit happens. So yeah. I think like really what you got to think about is like everybody has a past, and not a lot of people are stuck with their past being a actual physical living being. So I think when a lot of people, you know, like everybody's made mistakes, everybody's had things happen where it maybe didn't go exactly how they thought it was going to. But a lot of the times that doesn't end up, you know, in the physical form of another human being. So I think a lot of people just, like, the kind of people you've come in contact with are the kind of people who are just going to look at someone's past and judge them based on that.
Mm-hmm.
Never find someone who is in it, being in it. You're gonna find someone who's gonna love you for you, not what happened in the past, not what's happening now or in the future. It's just gonna be, I don't care what's happened. I've made mistakes too, and no matter what, I'm just gonna work through the things that's required to be with this person because I love this person for who they are. So, in terms of that, we're going to be people who are not going to look at your past as who you are now, or not going to even let it be a factor. In fact, it'll probably be a plus to some people. They'll be like, oh, well, it'll just be another really sweet thing because Allison's a great kid. And in terms of the father thing, I don't think you could ever consider yourself a failure because you're doing everything that I think it needs giving, because you're loving her. You're not like, oh well, I got effed over, so I'm just like, sorry, I'm just not going to be that. And yeah, you can have that as a fear, but you're not letting it hold you down, you know. I mean, I get what you're saying with and I'm sure I would feel a very similar way if I was ever a father and didn't have, you know, that motherly figure. But you know, you're giving child everything that they need as a kid and everything I think a child would want as a kid. Because like, there's never been a time where I've like come over or like where we've talked for long periods of time on a voice call where I haven't heard Allison just laughing her butt off like in the background or something. Like where you don't go to Jeremy's house and not see like toys everywhere, because you know it cares for her, and you know they have a great time, and there's lots of great memories and pictures I see of them, and you know that doesn't make women any less of people either, you know, because you know you guys are still working it out, even though you know there's some rough ground between there. I would use a gazillion words before I would even ever get close to anything remotely similar to a failure. Ever. You know, whether it be, you know, like you said, a year or two or 10, 15 years from now, I don't think, you know, she will ever look at you as someone who has failed her as a parent, ever. Because, you know, as you grow up, you know, even me, I, for a while, you know, was adoption thing really affected me and my relationship with my parents. Like, you get to a certain age where you're like, this isn't any their fault. You know, if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be who I am today anyway. You know, I could have gotten a real shit end of the stick, but I got lucky because they took care of me when the other ones didn't want to, couldn't. So I would never call you a failure, and I don't think anybody who knows you and knows your relationship with your daughter would ever be like, oh, well, he's failing her, or, oh, she's missing out on something, because she has a great fucking dad. Yeah, and I've told you this before, and I don't want to get too deep into it and make anybody, get the sappy feels, but it's true. Like, you're a great fucking dad, dude. And I don't think she's ever going to look back and be like, I really missed out because I didn't receive the love and care that I deserve. And has all of that. You don't need two people to love someone.
Yeah.
So I think you're showing her all the love she needs, man.
Yeah, I think and I don't think my, like, super big fear is, like, I'll always be alone. I think it is, like, will I be enough for her, or will she resent me because I didn't give her the mother figure, or I had her versus her mom. However
the other
much,
thing is
whatever,
when she's older, she'll probably ask questions, and that would be the time to explain what the situation was,
right?
How everything went down, why it went down that way. And I honestly don't think I couldn't see in a million years of her being like, "You robbed me of my mother" or anything like that. No. So. And this is nothing on her mother. I understand she's got her own stuff going on.
Yeah.
But you're doing the best you can. And that's all you can do for your daughter. And I truly do think that you will be her hero. God damn it. I'm going to cry now. You will be her hero.
I'm trying, man. It's... Fuck, life is hard. God damn it. Like, man, oh man. Life fucking comes at you quick, man, and it sucks. It really does. Yeah. Like, I don't know. All this sappy nonsense behind us.
Okay. So, do you have any other fears?
I do. I'm very irrationally fearful of heights, even though I'm 6'4".
Now, this is a quick question for you. Are you afraid of heights, or are you afraid of falling?
No, falling. Being up high.
Okay.
Like,
because a lot of people aren't afraid of heights, they're afraid of falling from that height.
Yeah, no. I've fallen, I've been, rock climbing and stuff, and, as long as I'm focused on what I'm doing, I'm good. And, I've done stupid shit where I've, been climbing and never worried about being up high, or never worried about falling, because I'm usually pretty sure-footed when I'm doing stuff. There's a cave system sort of around where we're at, Plural Caverns, I can say, because it's kind of it's around Pittsburgh. There's some pretty steep drop-offs there.
Yeah, and, there are.
Some pretty serious falls.
A hole.
Yeah, I've walked over and never been afraid that I was gonna fall. It's always been holy fuck, that's high.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. It's weird. Also, can't stand spiders.
Okay. I wondered if we had any arachnophobes.
I am.
You and many people.
Especially if they're hairy or have colors on them.
It's a good thing I didn't tell you about the other story I had from work.
Good.
I'll tell you a story because it was absolutely awful. When I lived at my old apartment, I came home and the closet area was. You could stand up. I was trying to put my arm around you. Come on. Stand up. There you are. I was trying to put some stuff away in the closet, and the closet was kind of damp. And lo and behold, I moved a sweater. There's a spider about yay big. Probably about this big with its legs sprawled out. Big black and gray woodsman spider.
Oh yeah.
In Mira's room.
No, it was in our old house, remember? You were really little. This was a long time ago. You were real little, remember? Uh-huh.
We saw a spider?
Yeah, I saw a spider, remember? You probably don't remember, actually. But it was terrifying. And all I had to kill it with was a broom and then, the broomstick. So,
Sand!
stab the thing with a broomstick to try and kill
I mean,
it.
you're better than I'll say Big Jake. You know,
Oh,
you know
yeah,
who Big is.
yeah.
The one time he left my house here, he went out to his car and came back in like 15 seconds later, out of breath. He's like, dude, you gotta get rid of the spider in my car. I cannot drive home like this. And it was a tiny little jumping spider, about that big. And I'm like, Jake, you gotta be kidding me. But no, he was scared to death.
That's
So. Anything else from you, Jeremy? Adam, my little adopted friend, what are your fears, sir?
I mean, I've probably talked about it more than you guys have, stuff like this, and because I'm just like, hey, do you want to hear about my emotions? Probably like the biggest one that's always been a thing that's just always affected me, that they say is from, you know, past stuff, and like I don't know where it stems from. I guess a lot of people make sense and connect the dots that it like goes back to adoption and stuff, but I guess just abandonment.
Okay.
Like just people leaving, and just like kind of all the stuff you guys were talking about, you know, combined, like people leaving, of course, like without a reason, but that's not really the main fear. It's just being gone in general, no matter how, you know, like just feel, and it kind of was like always reinstated and enforced like throughout my life, like not on purpose, but like I hold things. A lot of people can let go of stuff. I can't. Like I'm like, it's such an issue. Like I will remember like shitty comments people make like years later, but I'm also such a dick to everyone. So like I give out what I remember forever.
Okay.
One of Tyler's family people, I'll just say that, one of my best friend's family people, once, like this was like first time I ever met them.
Okay.
Something happened to one of their friends. I remember, I don't know why, but I've just always just held this deeply in my heart. I heard her upstairs. Oh, well, it's a woman, apparently, because there it fucking goes, I said her. I heard them, could be a dude, I don't know, maybe I'm tricking you. I heard them upstairs, they just went, and that boy down there. They were talking about me. It just forever. I've just never looked at them the same, because I was like, I'm that boy to them. Tyler's friend, nope, that boy. I was like, you know, stuff like that. So like just leaving, like therapists have always been like, oh well, this stems from adoption because you have reactive attachment disorder. It's like you get attached very quickly and you know, have like such that fear of people leaving.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I don't remember any of the adoptions, obviously. I know it happened.
Okay.
I don't. How I'm talking about it's always been reinstated and stuff, like relationship wise, you know, a lot of people, you know, the 14, 15, 16 through 20s relationships are like, oh yeah, we're dating and you move on. These were like world changing things for me. Like this stuff like shattered me and still does. Like I can't just be happy with Libby. This is the person I'm with right now, and it's not out of a fact that like it's an unsureness, but not like an unsureness like do I care for her or do I want to be with her. It's an unsureness of the same shit could happen at any moment. I don't care how much I feel like I trust her or how much I feel like she cares or how much care she shows me or how much effort she puts in. I just have never felt settled ever. Okay. It's like that thing where like you that weird feeling while you're trying to fall asleep and you just can't fall asleep. You just can't like relax, your brain won't shut up. That's what I have in relationships. And this stems from like 4 really substantial ones I could remember. Girl I met at military camp is when the whole thing started, where I was like, wow, women can just leave and it hurts. Yeah. It's like I didn't know this could happen. Like everything could be great and you could just be, all of a sudden they could be like, I like this guy, and you're like, oh, okay. And then, you know, I was such a sheltered kid and so like needing of that love for a long time that I just never got the lesson. So like I could get the like 4 time in a row left me and I would never as long as they come back, I would take them.
Okay.
And this continued until very recently. I still don't know. I haven't been tested like that in a while. Nobody's come back for a while. I guess that's what.
Okay.
They've all moved on and discovered their life's a lot easier or whatever, I guess. So, but it's just loss. Even this is getting to a weird, dark place, but even when Jake died, I was so mad. I think I was more crushed because I was like, even people who don't want to leave me are just leaving because they don't have a choice. I was like so pissed at the world. Like, what next? I was like, actually, what next? I was like, you're gonna just, all these girls are leaving me. Now we're getting to people who wouldn't want to leave me or who have stayed around as my friend, and you're gonna just like it's just that. I just, in any form, leaving of just like, I like this dude, bye, or leaving as in like they got in a car wreck and died. And I think the car wreck thing is very recent from the incident that happened with my close friend, because I never really worried about that. Now I like can't stand when it's like foggy out and Libby's like, okay, I'll text you when I'm home. I'm like, oh, but will you? It's just I don't know. But yeah, abandonment. I remember we did an art project. The picture's right there, so I guess that's probably why I remember it. We had to draw our biggest fear, and everybody drew like spiders and stuff. I drew. It's like a cave background, and there's like two silhouettes of a figure. One's really bright and light, and one's really dark and like creepy and sad. And there's a hole opening up in the ground, and there's like vines coming out of it, grabbing the dark sad figure and pulling him back. And then the light figure, who happens to be a woman, weirdly, I don't know what that was about, is like just walking the opposite direction, like walking away, not looking. And then there's just words like abandonment's written real big in the middle, and then there's just words like loss and fear and all that written all around it. Okay. That was my biggest fear. So that's the one that's really held me back in a big anxiety thing in my life, because it's ruined a lot of relationships for me. This is the first one where I'm just kind of like, as sad as it is, I go in expecting it to end now. So I just try to live for what it is right now. So it's like, oh, it's really great now. It's happy. I used to be the guy like, promise me we'll get married because I don't ever want to lose you. I'm not that guy anymore. Maybe very much is. She's like, when are we going to get married? And I'm like, let's just not think about that right now.
Let's make it through tomorrow.
Right, yeah. And I used to be complete opposite, but I would all end up getting shattered. Now I'm just, as sad as it is, I go in expecting, she knows this, we've had long talks about this, but, I just go in expecting that it's won't ever work out, and that I will just continually try to just search for love, because unlike you guys, who are probably smarter with your decisions, I, for a long time, was constantly on the search for love. Like, I didn't care who it was, I didn't care how I felt about it in the beginning, it was just someone else I could date and feel loved by and make it work. It was never like, this feels right. I mean, sometimes it was. I don't want to ever say it. I don't want to say I was just playing people. It was never that.
Yeah.
But for a long time, someone would break up with me, and like a week later, I would be dating someone else. And it wasn't fake. I don't know. I just attach quickly. They're not wrong when they say I have attachment disorder. That's completely accurate, because it could be someone like I never even talked to, and I'm like, wow, I actually love this person. Full on. I had people call rebound relationships. They're like, oh, it'll never work out. I was gonna marry this girl who was a rebound relationship. Dated her for 2 years. I was like, oh, it's fucking decision of my life.
I can speak from personal experience. I was there one time too, and it wasn't until your sister and I, Jeremy, broke up that I lost that kind of affection. Kind of the same thing that happened to you with you and Big Nose.
Yeah.
So that's the best term I had for it.
Accurate. No.
The advice I can give you that I have been told by somebody else is you gotta love like you've never been hurt.
Oh.
So, whether or not you're apprehensive about it, I mean, you gotta like kind of move past that.
and it's hard. It's not easy in any imagination. It's not easy.
It's not a thing you can do overnight. It's not a thing you can do. You can flip a switch and be like, okay, I'm good. It's you gotta work towards it. You gotta understand that, like, look, okay, I still am hurt by this, but right now I should be happy, and you can't let those things hold you back.
And I will also say, as a person who does this all the time, I always prepare for the worst situation. Because if you prep for the worst situation and it happens, you're alright. But if something else happens and it's better, then you're okay. Now, that doesn't necessarily carry over to relationships. I understand going in at first thinking it's going to be bad, but eventually you're going to have to push past the thought. Because at some point you're in this relationship, it's going to click in your head that she's not going anywhere. Like, you would have to physically murder her for her to leave you. So
that's the thing, though. That was always the switch that clicked like 1 week into dating, and that was always the switch that got me effed, like, bad, like, in the head, in the heart. Not. Women out there, don't think that switch gets you laid. It doesn't. That was always the one that I was like, oh well. Honestly, actually, no. Until. You don't want to call her big nose. That's toxic.
It's true,
Until
though.
her.
Yeah, Guinea then. Because that's what you guys call her.
Guino, yeah.
Guino,
Until
yeah.
Guino. Those of you who don't get that, she was Italian, so.
It's something
She
William
loved
did.
that.
So it's William's fault.
Yeah, William did. He's racist. For something, he's not racist at all. For something like that switch came around for Gweens because before her was the back-to-back relationship.
Yeah,
I was just like, then that one ended. The 2-year one that was like the longest, most committed relationship I've ever had ended, and I was like, fuck relationships. I'm just gonna be me, whatever. I started doing musicals again, which was weird because everybody knew after high school left and, you know, depression goth Adam happened, like, Adam really didn't do much anymore. It's like I was doing musicals. I was happy with life, me, for the first time ever in 17, 18 years. I was happy just myself. Didn't need the love of another person to be happy or a girl to be happy. And then I found Gweens. So then I was like, this is like what it's supposed to be. Like, I'm happy on my own, and then it just happened. I wasn't looking for it. Just found her. And so I had that switch. I was like, oh, well, this is, like, I don't need to trust because I didn't drag you in anything. We found each other and it's working out. And that was where she just kicked the switch out of my wall, and I was like, oh, wait, that still... Oh, because it was very... For what happened with the Gweens thing, nothing happened. That's what happened. And so that really was hurtful. Like, we went on this big camping trip, and me and her family got along so well, and they all loved me, and it was a big family. And her and I got along so well. And then we got back, and 2 days later, she was like, we should break up. And I was like, whoa. And she was like, I just don't want to ruin your life, and I know that I'm not good enough. And I was like, wait, what? And, you know, so that went on for like a month. We broke up, and then like 2 weeks later, she was with another guy, and I was for a year like.
But I think what hurt you in the Gweens
I don't know.
is the fact that she shouldn't have just said that I met somebody else, and that was probably what hurt the most. When, at least from my objective standpoint, I will say.
Yeah, I was just mad.
No, and I understand, and it's a perfectly good thing to do. I mean, I've been there, I've done it, so I understand where you're coming from. But I think that that probably hurt more than her just saying bye. It was the fact that she felt like she needed to lie to you.
Like, for a long time on my Instagram profile after that, I put, if it feels too good to be true, it isn't.
Yep.
Nothing had ever
felt
that
perfect.
perfect.
I wanted to punch you in the face.
It just was accurate, because the other relationships, there were issues and stuff that sucked about it, or like family issues, stuff like that. This one was just like, that was like the closest I had ever been with like a religious side of life, where I was like, this was meant to be. God has led me here. So then that fell off, and kind of so did like that feeling of, you know, it wasn't just like, oh, I don't believe in God, but it was like just a lot of stuff came crashing down because I was on the highest of highs, and then it was just like, oh, actually everybody's just fake and they're in makeup, and you're not real, and you're not real, and that means none of my friends are real, and life's not real. And it was just like, yeah, that began the phase of, well, if I get rid of everyone, no one could get rid of me or leave me.
You didn't try hard enough for me, little boy.
Yeah, it was just, you know, I even struggle with it today. My my really close friend I talk about, Tyler, is moving out with his girlfriend, and like, as I'm a shitty best friend when it comes to stuff like this, and I didn't have this talk with him because he had a talk with me that was like, hey, we're growing up, I'm moving out, I'm gonna start a family with Abby, like, he'll never be less of a friend to me. You know, I've talked to you guys about that talk he gave.
Yeah.
So, he did everything right. He told me that. He's like, we're not gonna like get distant. We'll still hang and stuff. I have so much trouble being happy for him. And I know that's me. That's in the wrong. And that's a dick thing for me. I'm shitty. It just hurts for some reason. It's like, in a way, he's leaving me. But not in a way. Like, he's not leaving me. He's just growing up, starting a family. I'm so hardwired to be like, anybody who leaves, I just need to just, and it's weird, because he's not leaving me. He's told me this, and he gets like annoyed. He's like, oh, screw off, I'm literally gonna talk to you every day, like nothing's gonna change, I'm just gonna move houses.
Yeah, what the hell was that?
My whole wall just like, oh, all the posters went out of the frames. Like, the frames just dropped in domino form. Anyway. Tyler? But, and my comedy comes from hurt. I'm sure part of him knows that I'm, like, sad about it. It's a dick friend move to be sad about it. No,
well, it's not really.
Not be able to be happy for him.
Like, I get where you're coming from. I really do, because William's moving out. William and I have been together for the 22 years of his life. We have been inseparable. So I understand. I understand where you're coming from. It's okay to be sad and upset about it. The thing is, you have to kind of look past yourself in a way. And I'm not saying that you're being selfish or anything like that. I'm just saying you need to let them grow.
I'm an asshole.
The thing is, and Tyler's right. It's not going to change. He's still going to talk to you every day. I mean, he might be asleep, but you and I both know he sleeps too much, and Tyler knows that too. So, but
I love his waifu. I can't believe I just said that. Oh my god, I love his girlfriend. I actually do. I really love his girlfriend. She's the best person ever. My girlfriend and her are like best friends. Me and him are best friends. I'm not mad at him for it, but part of me is just like, what the fuck? It's so assholey of me, and I know it. I just like. Then Jeremy's like, hey, I'm thinking about maybe moving, and I just got sad. It wasn't like abandoning me. It was just like, well, fuck, I'll never see you again. And also shitty. That's what I mean. Abandonment has fucked my life up, and adoption has also given me this thing where Tyler takes it personally sometimes when I try to have these talks with him. He's like, that's shitty. I'm there for you a lot. Like, is like the best friend. He's a great friend, okay?
Yeah.
Not so everybody in chat don't be like, oh yeah, he is a shitty. He's not at all. And I get why he would be like, oh, what the fuck, dude? Because he's done like everything for me, and for him to be like, hey, dude, I'm moving on, and me be like, well, that's shitty. Is kind of really shitty of me. But I don't know. It's a
But no, it is a real fear, and you don't have anything to feel bad about it. I don't think it's just. It's the human psyche and work.
God, I feel like I've talked way too long. I feel like this episode's been 3 hours. Oh, that's not. Okay, that's not.
I have 118. So You guys have anything else to say before I wrap up?
No. Don't apologize for being you.
So.
We'll make the title something like that'll let them know. Don't be like, this video's the best video you'll ever see.
Are we gonna clickbait people? Are we?
Huh? Yeah.
So
get deep again.
I will say we are going a little long. I had a whole second part to this whole conversation, but I talked too much in the beginning. I mean, I took up like 25 minutes. So, but I do believe
good freaking subject, dude.
I'm gonna save the second half for a part 2, episode 21. So if you want to hear the rest of it, make sure to come back on Thursday. All right. So. Made it this far, I want to thank you once again, like I do every time, because honestly, you guys are what make the dream work. If we were gotten 4 views on the past 19 videos, we probably still wouldn't be doing this. At least not recording it. We'd probably still talk like this, because it's a lot of fun. So, I want to thank you very much.
If you still listen, I've given several shout-outs to people I know listen to these, like Antonio and Angelina and my mom. But Cooper, if you still listen, thank you for being my only big friend there for a while in high school when I was like 75 pounds and everyone hated me in the hallway. It actually gave me some credibility to where people hated me a little less because you were nice to me. I've never said that to you, and I don't know if you even remember me because I've gained like 300 pounds since then. You were my friend, and you used to come to talk to me about weightlifting, and you thought I was funny when nobody else really did, so thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for listening, but that too.
Thank you guys, and we will see you shortly on the next episode. Bye.
Love you. Bye.